You'll be... He is science editor of Horticulture magazine and a host on PBS's Victory Garden. But first, let's join a conversation I had recently with Gene Sharp, president of the Albert Einstein Institution. He's also program director of the program on nonviolent sanctions at the Center of International Affairs at Harvard University. Gene, let me ask you a very simple question at the beginning. What is the term, what does it nonviolent really mean?
Well, it means a lot of different things to different people. And that's one reason I try not to use the term nonviolence, which is so commonly used, because it may mean to somebody passivity and submission. It may mean religious or ethical pacifism to someone else. It may mean militant struggle to somebody else. So I usually talk about nonviolent action or nonviolent struggle, and particularly nonviolent struggle, to indicate that this is a way of conducting conflicts, acute conflicts, precisely those where people might otherwise use violence. So it's not like negotiations or conciliation at all. It's another way of fighting.
It's a conscious, non-violent action.
It may be conscious, and increasingly it is, but it may not be consciously chosen all the time over violence. It derives, I think, from, well, not from turning the other cheek and the Sermon on the Mount, or from Gandhi's ethic and so forth. I think it derives basically from a much more common human capacity, the capacity to be stubborn and cussed, and sometimes obnoxious.
You don't often hear those qualities talked about.
No, not in terms of nonviolent struggle, but the nonviolent struggle really is the social, political, or economic application of human cussedness and stubbornness.
So in other words, I have the courage to stick your heels in and say no further.
That's right, or that we're going to take charge of our own lives, or we're going to try to exert control, and we're going to take action.
Is that coming from a greater realization now that we as individuals can have more of a say in our own lives?
That's not a generalized realization, I think. There are a lot of people in our society and many other parts of the world that think they have very little or no say. So if they're going to realize they have a say in their own lives, there must be an origin of that feeling, that they really are learning to experience the capacity to do so. And nonviolent struggle is one of the ways that people have learned that they can wield power, they can shape their own lives and futures.
Gene, why has this come more to the fore in recent years, the whole concept of nonviolent action? Is it because we have perhaps realized as a human race that the idea of war is really not that sensible? Or is it because we are growing in our capacity to understand who we are and our role in our lives?
Maybe neither. Some people, of course, realize the futility of war, but if we look at Lebanon or Ethiopia or the struggle in Afghanistan or lots of places, they've not given up on war exactly, quite to the contrary. And similarly, it doesn't necessarily derive from the broader, more philosophical understanding. I think it derives to the degree that we can assess the situation from people's pragmatic recognition that there are other ways of acting and waging their own struggles. And nonviolent struggle, I really didn't say what it was when you asked me. It's a broad technique, like conventional war is a broad technique of struggle in which people do one of three things. They either protest by symbolic actions, like a vigil or parade or lowering a flag or hoisting a flag, or there are 50-some of those methods, or they refuse to do something they're supposed to do. And there you have social boycotts, economic boycotts, labor strikes, and many types of political non-cooperation. And then a nonviolent intervention, they insist on doing something that they're not really supposed to do.
Such as?
Sit-ins, for example, nonviolent occupations, hunger strikes, creation of substitute governments. And that's a very dramatic and brazen attempt to disrupt the established order.